Hello. In this video, I just want to do an overview of the changes to the support records that we introduced with the last build. Um, the main change here is we're using a date range now instead of a is active. Um, in the past, we would set our support records as active, and that's how we would get them onto the iPad so we could use them for activities. Now each support will basically have a date range attached to it. So you can see those date ranges here in the support tables, and everything in the support table will now have a start date and an end date. So the concept there is that as we move through time and even planning into the future, we can create support records that will work for that time frame. Um, every activity in RMS has a start and end date associated with their supports. So even activities from years and years ago before we rebuilt RMS will have a start and end date. And what we've done for this transition is take any of the supports that were active, and we've basically found what time they were used, and we used that for the start date, and then we assigned everything an end date at the end of the year. So we're basically planning on everybody updating their support table data at the end of every year. The ultimate goal here is to actually make things easier for you. We have a new table here in the support record area called expiring, and this is going to automatically pop up when you have a support record that is expiring within 30 days. So, though it sounds like it's more complicated, I think it's actually a lot more logical because a chemical cost is probably not going to be valid for several years. It might be only valid for 1 year. I think in most cases it is valid for 1 year. And then at the end of that year, you would make a new support record for that chemical with a different cost, and it would be active for that year. Now, why is that important? Well, it is really nice if we do it like that because we can make a activity based on the time frame using any support record. So most of these support records here, this database is not the gold database, so this doesn't look very good. But if you had a support record that was made and used during the year of 2021, then you made a new one for 2022. Now you have two support records, most likely, let's just say, with different costs. So that means that if you went back in and you noticed in 2022, you noticed like, oh, you forgot to put in a activity, but that activity took place in 2021, you could still add that activity. And when you do add the activity, all activities have an activity date. So you would set the date for your activity back to a different year, and it would automatically use the supports that were available for that time frame. So the same thing applies going forward. You can make draft activities, and you could set, so I'm just going to right click, add draft activity. You could set this draft activity as something that you plan to do in 2023. Again, this is obscure. You can change this when you get to it. But you can make that new draft activity. Let me just let that come up here. Oh, it's not going to come up. Let me just grab that real quick. Okay, here's the activity that I just made. It's a draft. That should have popped up automatically, but here it is. It's set in the future, so this is marked as a draft activity. You can actually type in the costs that you need, and I'll make a separate video on this. right now, nothing's showing up under the contractor for 2023 because there are no support activities for that time frame yet. But the idea is that you can actually type that in here, what you anticipate that being, with the new cost, and it will generate those support records as you go. So as you make this long list of draft activities that you anticipate doing, you'll get to those and they'll already have the support records made. And I'll make a separate video showing how to do that, but it's actually fairly straightforward. Um, we've put in an automatic fill here. So if there's already a contractor available, as you type in, you say you want to use Santa Fe Pacific Timber Company, you start typing that in, you can hit enter to use that existing contractor, and that will avoid everyone mistyping or typing in a different record. So we wouldn't want to end up with contractor Santa Fe Pacific Timber Company with no period, so that would make duplicates of the same. So we've kind of added that so it autofills, and then you can add a cost per unit to that. So you just type it in. I'll just say 23. I'm sure that's over what it would normally be. Um, and then you can add the crew if you want, but the idea there is that you would save that and now you'd have a new support record for this contractor at $23 per unit. Okay, so that's kind of the broad strokes. Again, you won't really need to do anything once you get this new build. We've already assigned all of the new support record date ranges that should exist. Everything is going to expire at the end of next month, which means everybody is going to see this expiring support pop up at the beginning of December. We're all going to see this pop up, and I'll make another video specifically on how to use this, but don't be alarmed with it. It's very easy to use. There's a good explanation here, and it allows you to either extend a expiring support record. So if the contract, contract quote unquote, is not going to change, you can either extend it to the end of next year potentially, or you can press this button to create a new post-expiring support for that selected record. So I'll make another video for that too. So there'll be two other videos explaining the details here, and I'll have a link for those readily available. Okay, thank you.